Quick video, top 5 points or something similar about braking versus BS, shall we say. It's something I touched upon in a couple of other videos I've made, but I'd just like to expand upon it a bit further, relating to recently a few sort of how to brake videos I've seen on YouTube, a number of which are by quite predominant, if that's the right word, martial artists on YouTube. Like, they've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views sometimes, and a similar amount of followers. They're very well known, but I've got a couple of issues with the videos they're making on braking, some of them. Issue number one, there doesn't seem to be any warnings given that no one under the age of 18 should try braking or attempt it. Bones are still forming, etc. There's also the issue of adults who may have vulnerability issues, special needs, call it what you will. So I think it needs to be very clearly stated that braking carries definite dangers and risks, and it's not just some jolly to be picked up for a laugh, as seems to be suggested by some of these videos. Point number two, and again, a number of these videos, it's this sort of what I call mumbo-jumbo or crap. Stuff like, oh, feel the chi in your body, focus into your hand, you know, what the Chinese call chi, Japanese say ki, this supposed inner energy. That it's often said in relation to like the dim mak, the death touch, or, you know, throwing some ball of chi to knock your opponent down, no touch knockout. It's up there for me with that sort of level of nonsense. No, you might a bit of adrenaline is going to be helpful in a break, focusing, but there's no inner force, mysterious ancient force that you focus or something. And people who sell that don't do braking, as is obvious from these videos. I mean, they may be very competent martial artists, but they don't brake. Which leads me on to point three. Having said these sort of nonsense, like it's some sort of Master Ken thing, they then proceed to demonstrate their brake by doing it on some piece of plywood or some thin strip. I'm searching for something which I haven't got around me. Say some thin strip of like an old tile or some thin strip of rock or something, which basically anyone could do over a certain age, and if they're not, you know, they've got physical problems in some way, whatever. I mean, anyone could do a brake like that. It's not proving anything. So point number 4 here is the supposed expose of braking, like it's all just a sham, it's all just a trick. Of course, there's loads of tricks in braking. There's loads of stuff. Even the great, I feel bad saying this, almost like disrespectful, but the great Oyama, Masayama, the Japanese karateka, John Blooming, the late great John Blooming, even well, this is what John Blooming said, like Oyama would, you know, the bull knocking the horns off a bull, apparently these horns were partially sawn already, or taking the top of a glass bottle, it was cut through with almost completely cut through with sort of the wire that you use to cut glass, which is always why it's such a clean brake. Just what John Blooming says, it's not me. But I've got loads of other things I've read and heard and seen of deception and braking from people who really could brake. No one's denying that Oyama could brake. I mean, Jesus, you know, one touch certain, one strike, certain death, and all this sort of thing. But and then these guys were showmen as well, and they needed to attract an audience, and so yeah, there were certain liberties taken, shall we say. However, on the bottom of the heap is people who think it's just a complete sham. All of it relates to videos such as how to break a brick. It's not these how-to videos which get millions of views, but it's just nonsense, you know, that comedy thing. One guy, he's quite a large American guy, and he has 2 pillars of bricks, and he puts a towel over the one spanning the 2 pillars, and he breaks it, and then he removes the towel, and he shows how he did it by raising the brick slightly, the old raising thing. Yeah, that supposedly exposes it, you know, anyone can break a brick. Yeah, good luck trying that with something like an engineering brick if you haven't conditioned properly, because you're gonna hurt yourself. And again, that's something that should be made clear. It's not an expose to use bricks that are really brittle. I mean, there's bricks in England, we call them rubbers, the orange bricks, which you can break. I call it a flush break, just not raising at all. But certain things large stones, heavy bricks, etc., you have to raise to a certain extent. The skill is more in raising them only very slightly. When you start off, you may raise them quite high up, and even then, believe me, it's when you're just starting out, it's going to hurt, and you fail and you screw up, and you know that's how you build up calluses and things get thicker and stuff, Wolf's Law and all the rest of it. So that's bottom line is it's not a break. It's not a joke. It's not some little game you get into for a jolly. I can't impress that enough. I feel almost like it's like a duty to try and counteract some of these videos by saying it's a very serious thing. And point number 5 is, again, a number of these predominant YouTubers who don't break and just, oh, call out bullshit, man, you're going to cripple yourself and, you know, mix up for shit technique and stuff. Yeah, not everyone wants to fight. Breaking is like, it's a hobby. It shows commitment, it shows your technique works to a certain extent. And they always go to the most extreme examples of, I don't know, there's a Chinese iron hand or iron palm, whatever they call it, a guy on YouTube, and his hand just looks like a baseball catcher's mitt. It's so calloused. It's like, do you want a hand like that? You know, well, yeah, like anything, you can take it to degrees. But if you don't choose not to break, fine, you know. But it seems like the fox with no tail to me. Just call out something's being absolute crap because you don't do it. And loads of people break, and there's absolute masters who break and put very heavy emphasis on breaking, and I believe they're correct, because it's basically, at the end of the day, all fancy stuff aside, it shows your technique works. It shows you've got power in your strike. If you're a well-balanced, mature, decent person, then hopefully you are never outside of a dojo where it's controlled anyway. You're never going to get into a skirmish, shall we say. But you want to show that you want to know that what you're drilling carries some power at the end of the day. So how else, if you can, you know, break a brick with a strike and it's a proper brick, then you know it works. And it's just simple as that. I mean, anyone can hit a hanging bag of, not the heavy canvas jobs, you know, the things that, you know, the light plastic things, anyone can hit one of those all day long. So yeah, just to call out something's being BS because you don't do it, and therefore because you don't do it, therefore it's a load of crap. It seems to me to be a bit, you know, a bit cheeky. Yeah, so no, that's just the video I wanted to make there, and my 5 points on breaking versus BS. I just got it out there.